Okay, the table shows the marks achieved by a class of girls in a test. So we've got the marks and we've got the number of girls, and it's asked draw a group frequency diagram. Okay, now usually your possibilities for a group frequency diagram would be either a bar chart. In this case we can use that because we could label them this way, a frequency polygon, or a group frequency diagram where you're drawing using a continuous scale along the axis. Now in this case the two that we should be using are either a bar chart where you label each bar separately, okay, or the one I'm going to show you now, the frequency polygon. Now a frequency polygon, what you do is you plot the frequency against the middle point of each of the groups. Okay, to get the middle point I add the limits together and divide by 2. Okay, so there's my midpoints all worked out. So I'm going to be able to plot those on my horizontal axis and these on my vertical axis. Okay, now if you have a look, I've set this out already for you. Okay, you see I've labelled number of girls on the vertical axis, marks on the horizontal, and then I've chosen a scale to fit in my groups, my midpoints and my frequencies. So the frequencies from 1 to 10 to get the frequencies, and then to plot the midpoints. Now we're going to have to be careful, these midpoints aren't going to be exactly easy to plot. 5.5, so I'm not allowed to plot it at 5, I have to just go over between 5 and 6. Okay, so at 5.5 I plot 3, so there's 3, so 5.5 just past 5 and before 6. Okay, and then at 15.5 I plot 8, so there's 8, and there's 15 in my scale, so 15.5 just halfway between 15 and 16. Okay, and that's accurate enough. Okay, don't worry that you're going to have to just guess where halfway between 15 and 16 is. You're measuring to the nearest millimetre, which is roughly the width of your pencil or your pen, so don't worry too much about that. Okay, so next is 25.5, 7. Okay, there's 25. Okay, there's 7, so 25.5. Next one's 35.5, 7, so it's not going to move, so there's 35.5, 7. You might say, well, you're not using a pencil because it doesn't show up very well on the videos, that's why I use a biro. 45.54, okay, so there's 45, and we want 4, there we go, halfway. And then last but not least, 55.5, 2, 55.5, 2. Okay, so once you have those points plotted, then you join them up with straight lines. Okay, so now with the frequency polygon there's no need to continue them down to the axis. So that's my frequency polygon for the class marks. Okay, now we move on then to part B. Write down the modal class. Now the modal class is the class which has the biggest frequency. So if we have a look here, this is the biggest frequency, our number of girls, and it's 11 to 20. So we put 11 to 20 down as the modal class. The one with the highest frequency, or in this case the highest number of girls. Okay, we're then asked to calculate an estimate for the mean mark. Now when you're working with group frequencies, it is an estimate because we don't know what those 3 girls' marks actually were. So what we generally do to make an estimate is we pretend, or we estimate, each one of the girls has the mid mark in each case. Okay, so now the way we normally mark this out is we'll make a table where we'll put the midpoint and the frequency down. We call the midpoint X, and we call the midpoint the number of girls, frequency, F. And then we work out another column where you multiply the midpoint by the frequency. Okay, so this is the way you commonly see this calculation laid out when you're estimating the mean from a frequency table. Okay, so these are the midpoints, this is the number of girls or the frequency, and this is the product, multiplying those together. Now you notice when I'm putting down the product, I'm lining them up, so it's going to be easy to add them up. Okay, so when I add them up, I get 860.5. I add the frequencies up and I get 31, and then the calculation you do to work out the mean is you take the products sum, which is 860.5, and you divide it by the total frequency, which is 31. Okay, so when we do that, we get 27.758. And in this question, we're doing an estimate, so most people would probably write down 27.8. Okay, now the last question then is, which group contains the median. Now the median is the middle. We know there's 31, so we need to find out where is the 16th girl in which group. If we put them in order, where's the 16th girl? Now the way most people will do this is they will put on another column called the cumulative frequency. And what the cumulative frequency is, you add up the number of girls. So 3 plus 8 is 11, plus 7 is 18, plus 7 is 25. Now, I don't need to go any further, but I will anyway. Plus 4 is 29, plus 2 is 31. So that's the cumulative frequency. I went on just to make sure I got the correct total. Now, where would the 16th girl? Well, there's 3 up to this point, there's 11 up to this point, and then there's 18. So 12 through to 18 must be in this group. So the median, the 16th girl, must be in 21 to 30. So that's where we get our answer from. Okay, so the median mark, the group that contains the median mark, is 21 to 30, because the girl who would be in the middle of the order list would be in that